Good evening. I'm in the only place on Earth where London, 12,000 miles away over there, New York, Moscow, anywhere else you like, are all due north. That's the only way you can go from here. For tonight, tomorrow's world comes from the bottom of the world, from the last unknown continent, Antarctica. It's a land almost as big as Europe and America put together, and yet there's no native human life in all of its frozen 5.5 million square miles, so barren that not even the common cold virus can survive. Man doesn't belong here, and yet he must come, for this is tomorrow's world. The scientists working here believe they may be sitting on the greatest laboratory in the history of science.
2 Americans ride to work. They're members of an international scientific task force, 1,000 strong. Together, 12 countries are spending £15 million on research in Antarctica. Most of it comes from America, and most of it has to go on just keeping the scientists alive. A 10-minute toboggan ride from base, a lonely hut on the ice. The men's job, diving through a hole in the ice to search for biological specimens on the seabed 150 feet below. The hut is kept warm so that the hole won't freeze over. The dives are early steps in a research program that could lead one day to the farming of Antarctica's waters, the richest in the world. At the end of each dive, the life of these men hangs on their ability to find again quickly the tiny hole in the roof of ice above them. Their air supply gives them plenty of time to look for the way out, but if they spend more than 10 minutes in the water, they will freeze to death, despite their extra-thick frogmen's suits. As in much other Antarctic research, the dictum here is observe but don't touch. The divers take a camera so that they can leave undisturbed one of Antarctica's unique features, a natural environment uncontaminated by man. Antarctica's strangest paradox is here. Waters that teem with life, from tiny shrimp to squid with tentacles 30 feet long, surrounding the most sterile land on Earth. Antarctica is one enormous ice cap resting on a chain of islands. Millions of years ago, it was semi-tropical. It contains 90% of all the unsnow in the world. It doesn't melt much because the white ice reflects back almost all of the sun's warmth. Antarctica has produced the lowest temperature ever recorded, minus 127 Fahrenheit. To live here at all demands a new survival technology. Conventional bases are possible only on the edge of the continent, like McMurdo, America's main base in Antarctica, on the coast nearest to New Zealand. But even here, life is possible only thanks to gadgetry like electrical heaters on disposal pipes to keep the sewage on the move. The electricity that pumps the sewage away under the sea ice is produced by one of McMurdo's many concessions to the American way of life, a £3 million nuclear power plant. But even in McMurdo, the best appointed base in Antarctica, it'll be a long time before the life of the American pioneers on the ice becomes much more comfortable than it was for their ancestors in the Wild West. The trouble with working in a place like this is that no matter how advanced your technology is, you're still at the mercy of the weather. 400 miles nearer the South Pole, a prototype for future all-weather living in Antarctica, America's underground base called Bird. To build Bird, the Americans had to excavate 4.5 million cubic feet of ice, enough to fill the Albert Hall 5 times over. In a tunnel below the ice, the world's biggest refrigerator. It contained 2 years' food supplies for the entire base. Temperature everywhere in the tunnels, 50 degrees of frost. But even at this temperature, the walls are slowly creeping in, despite the icy air continuously pumped through the base to keep them solid. Power for Bird, this diesel generator, which provides central heating for the living quarters. These are built on supports to keep them off the ice. A Bird resident need never see the surface. The tunnels are self-contained, with cinema, showers, music room, and bedrooms shared by scientists working opposite shifts. Smaller rooms are linked by twisting tunnels, which are slowly clogging up from ice crystals that go off the condensed breath of passing scientists. The ice never stops moving. This tunnel, lined with steel, used to be perfectly circular. There's a complex network of escape tunnels. In case of emergencies, 60-foot shafts lead direct to the surface. They haven't had to use them, yet. And on the surface, the only sign that man lives here, 2 towers and a few chimney pots.